Welcome to one of my favourite subclasses. I'm playing it right now, and I've also seen Ryan play one twice, actually, because it's one of the coolest domains that you can pick for a cleric. We're here to talk about the Twilight Domain. I'm currently playing he's 6th level right now, a Twilight Cleric. He doesn't look like one, I'll say that much. But yeah, basically the Twilight Domain is kind of like we will stop the bad things from night happening and kind of shepherd people through the dark and stuff like that and make it a little less spoopy. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is the book that it features in, gives you a bunch of Twilight deities that are possible. The only ones that I really know about are the Forgotten Realms ones. So there's, you know, Helm, there's Ilmater, Saloon, all the classics. Saloon is the go-to, normally. However, mine worships Gond, the god of creation, and like making things and cool stuff and stuff like that. And he's still Twilight Domain purely because of the flavour of his backstory more than his actual faith. It's just that his faith has turned into that, because he was with a bunch of hippie star druids before he turned into a Twilight Domain cleric to kind of try and distance himself from it. And it's not too distant because he's still doing weird star stuff. But hey, one of the best things about clerics is they get more spells than they already normally have. Clerics are one of the classes that get a lot of prepared spells that they can kind of switch around, and their subclasses also just give them more to work with. In particular, at first level, a Twilight Domain Cleric is going to be getting Fairy Fire and Sleep all the time. Sleep is a very useful spell early game if you want to just neutralize a target, perhaps either spare them and use them for interrogation, or have your Barbarian automatically crit them because they're unconscious, whichever one you want. And Fairy Fire gives everyone advantage. Two very good early game spells. At 3rd level, you're going to get Moonbeam because duh, and See Invisibility. See Invisibility is you see invisible things, so it kind of plays into that whole theme of the Twilight Domain Cleric pushing through the darkness and like illuminating the dark in not necessarily I'm going to make everything glow, but more so just everyone adapt to the limited vision of the night and stuff like that. And Leomund's Tiny Hurt, which they get at 5th level, emphasizes that further, keeps them protected during the night, you know what I mean? And then Aura of Vitality to heal a bunch of people, because the way that the Twilight Domain Cleric works is that you stay around the middle of the combat and you have like auras that come out that heal everyone, and Aura of Vitality is another one to add to that list. Or not just heal people, there's other effects which we'll get into. 7th level, you're going to get Aura of Life, which to my memory is a really good one. Everyone in the aura gets resistance to necrotic damage, and they can't have their hit point maximum reduced, so it screws over a lot of the abilities that, say, Undead have. And they also just immediately pop up from going unconscious if they're at the start of their turn with 1 hit point, which is probably the best bit about that feature, because it makes you as a cleric not have to worry so much about keeping everyone up with all your actions. And you also get Greater Invisibility, because it's a fucking good spell. What can I say? It's invisibility, but it doesn't deactivate when you attack things. That's great. 9th level, you get Circle of Power, which gives everyone around you magic resistance, and they get evasion for like every saving throw if it's a spell. So what that means is if they have to make a Constitution saving throw against Blight, for instance, and they succeed, so they would have normally taken half damage, but now they take none because of the Circle of Power. And one of my favorite spells, Mislead, which makes a duplicate of you simultaneously as you turn invisible. So to everyone else it looks like nothing has happened. You've casted a spell and then it's like, oh, I've just buffed myself or whatever. But in reality, now you're over there, but people can just see you in one spot. I believe you can control this duplicate with your action. You can make it behave as you, basically, for up to an hour. So it's kind of like a consistent illusion that you can keep up in the middle of a fight. It can also be useful to get to the other side of the map without anyone messing with you, etc., etc. And yeah, I think it's a cool ass spell. You also get some bonus proficiencies, because this is one of the clerics that give you martial weapons and heavy armor, which I think most clerics should get, honestly. My cleric isn't making too much use out of it. He has 10 strength, so really shouldn't be wearing heavy armor. And in terms of martial weapons, since he has 10 strength, his options are limited, but he does walk around with a rapier, and he's not bad with it, per se. So one of the cornerstone features and biggest things about this subclass is Eyes of Night, which is the 1st level feature that you also get. You get a lot of stuff at 1st level for being a Twilight Cleric, one of my favorite things about it. You get dark vision to 300 feet. That's great. In the Unearthed Arcana, it was infinite, which sometimes can be hard to play around with. So it's only 300. And it functions as a regular dark vision, so everything's a little dimmer than normal. And as an action, once a long rest, you can give up to a number of creatures equal to your wisdom modifier the shared dark vision. So they also get 300 foot for up to an hour. You can also spend a spell slot to do it again if you feel like you want to. I think that this is pretty cool. It can definitely help a party out in a dungeon if you're working with like all humans and you're just some guy that's like, right, everyone have dark vision. It can be a bit of a hassle for DMs to sometimes remember that, because 300 foot of dark vision is a lot. But I think this subclass is really, really useful in like a dungeon, because it helps a DM in a way, because it means that they don't have to hide detail from certain characters and think, where is this light? Because everyone can already see what's in there just automatically and immediately. So yeah, it's a one-use thing, but you can also spend a spell slot to do it again. So late level, not that much of an issue to keep spamming it if you need to. Also, at first level, they get Vigilant Blessing, which is like a permanent little effect that you can give to someone. As an action, you can give either yourself or anyone around you advantage on the next initiative that they roll. This is only for that next roll, so you'll have to use your action in the space again. Or if you use it on someone else, it even passes through a long rest. So advantage on initiative is really good, because I think a lot more things in D&D should boost your initiative, because I think one of the best things for a player is getting to do your cool thing first, you know what I mean? Before the enemies get a time to react, so that you feel heroic and then they can push back, and it feels like more of a proper fight instead of like a, well, they went first and now I'm on half health, great, I'm already on the ropes. You know what I mean? We finally move on to a second level feature, which is a Channel Divinity, which all clerics get an additional option for at second level depending on their subclass. This one's called Twilight Sanctuary, which is one of the most powerful ones, I think. You make another big old aura, 30-foot radius around you, like most of the late level spells for, or not late level, but like mid-level spells that you're going to be getting do. It has dim light, so this is the only thing that does make some light, and it moves with you, centered on you, and it lasts until you literally die or you're incapacitated. So if you get like, I don't know, stunned, unconscious, you can't take actions basically, it just stops. So whenever a creature ends their turn in this aura that's going to be moving with you for the next minute, you can choose to give them one of the two effects that follow. You give them temporary hit points equal to 1d6 plus your cleric level. So at max level you can give people 26 temp HP just for standing near you with a Channel Divinity. Woo! Spicy. Or you can end a Charm or Frighten condition on them, which is neat. I think that, again, more things that need to be explored in the early game are Charms and Frightened conditions, because like some races are really good against those. So like elves are difficult to charm, halflings are difficult to frighten, dwarves are difficult to poison. All of those like default more tame conditions, I think it's important that players have some level of protection from that sort of stuff, because sometimes that can really fuck you over in the early game. Let's move on to their 6th level feature, Steps of the Night. So, as a bonus action, when you're in dim light or darkness, which is the requirement for this feature, you can magically give yourself a flying speed equal to your walking speed for 1 minute. You can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and get them all back on a long rest. This is cool. It's a limited feature that gives you flight, and it's only for a minute. It has more uses than the typical features that would give you flight at this sort of level, in terms of the fly spell is a lot better, but it's a 3rd level spell. And at this sort of level, you've got a very limited number of those. So yeah, you can do that 3 times at the level you're going to be getting it, and it can go up to 6. I don't think this is too broken, because it just relies on your current movement speed, whereas other things go like 50 or 60. And yeah, it gives you a few more things to play with, and the flavor's there. It's great. I'm all for flight speed if it's a usable feature, basically, so that it feels like you have to do something to be able to fly instead of be an Aarakocra. So, 8th level feature is Divine Strike. Most subclasses get this, where they get to add a d8 of some sort of damage to their attacks once a turn. In this case it's Radiant, and it bumps to 2d8 at level 14. This is cool. An optional Tasha's feature, however, makes it better in the early game at least, where it will also apply to your cantrips. So your Sacred Flame is going to be doing 3d8 at level 8. I think that's honestly better, because it still adds the radiant damage, and even though it's going to scale to 2d8 at 14th level, a weapon attack isn't going to be worth it on this subclass, especially since you don't get extra attack. Unless you really build into it it's not going to need to scale that well, really. But yeah, I think it's neat that you get to whack people with a weapon and do more damage than normal. Just one big, real hard swing. Played a Death Cleric once that was very centered around having this magical battle axe and hitting fucking hard. Very, very hard. So that was quite fun. And finally, a cleric has to wait 9 levels until they get their next feature, which is Twilight Shroud for Twilight Domain Clerics. It's the worst feature I've ever seen on a subclass. I'm very disappointed by this one, honestly. You and your allies have half cover while in the sphere created by your Twilight Sanctuary at 2nd level, the Channel Divinity thing. You get like a +2 against ranged attacks at level 17. That's so good. It really isn't that good at all. I like what they were trying to do with it, but I think 3/4 would have made it a little more interesting. However, I think that it kind of makes sense, honestly. Clerics in the late game are carried by their amazing spells and their durability for a primary spellcaster and stuff like that. So I personally don't have too much of a problem with it being bad, but it's like, oh, could have been cooler, you know what I mean? Like it's 17th level. You want the players to be powerful as hell, and I don't know if giving half cover to everyone is cool. But hey, that's also the level you get 9th level spells, so I think they vastly outweigh this feature. In any case, hopefully this has convinced you to play one of my favourite subclasses ever. Ryan would most certainly agree with me here. He's definitely going to play another one the moment he can. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to like and comment, maybe. You can tell me stuff and we can talk or something. We have a Discord you can join in the description. We also we got a store as well that you can buy things from. Maybe just one thing right now. It's cool. And you can subscribe to our channel. Thank you. This is the sound test.
I already did one.
Oh. I'm used to you not being ready.
Well, this time I came prepared. Oh, but piece in B.
Put that in the bloopers.